This is the story of a time in people's lives that will be remembered for eternity. During this period, the Nazi army inflicted great suffering upon Jewish people. In a factory, we are shown a Jewish worker making pins when a German, an officer of the Nazi army, arrives and orders him to make pins. As he makes the pins, the officer times him, then counts each pin, saying, "You have been making pins since 6 a.m. Why are there so few?" He then takes the man outside, draws his gun, and tries to shoot him. But his gun jams. He attempts to fix it and tries again, but it jams again. Frustrated, his junior officer takes the gun and also attempts to shoot but fails. The old man awaits his death, then explains to the German officer that he was given another task this morning, which delayed him from making pins. However, the officer doesn't listen and continues trying to fire at him, but the gun remains jammed. Out of anger, he strikes the man with the gun and leaves. This was the time of the Second World War when human lives held no value. Today we present Schindler's List, set in 1939 in Poland. Within just 2 weeks, Germany defeated Poland and took control over the entire country. Jewish people in Poland were ordered to leave, prompting thousands to gather at Poland's railway station to register and leave as soon as possible. Meanwhile, we are introduced to a man named Oskar Schindler, a German and a member of the Nazi Party. He is also a businessman who wants to expand his business amidst the wartime chaos. Schindler attends a party attended by high-ranking Nazi officers who are celebrating their recent victory in Poland. He orders drinks for everyone, gaining their attention, and soon the officers become familiar with Schindler. To expand his business, Schindler approaches an organization representing Jewish people, the same organization that enforces orders issued by the Nazi army and receives complaints from Jewish individuals. Schindler meets the organization's accountant and says he wants to start a business and open a factory but needs funding from Jewish businessmen to do so. During this time, the Nazis had enforced a rule prohibiting Jewish people from conducting business. However, they could invest money in any German, specifically a Nazi. Schindler offers the accountant a role in managing the factory in exchange for his assistance. The accountant agrees, but he doubts that any Jewish person would fund Schindler. Time passes, and it is now 1941. All Jewish people in Poland are sent to concentration camps, meaning they are evicted from their homes. Schindler meets with several businessmen, asking for funding for a factory in exchange for company shares and supplies during these harsh times. He warns them to stay out of sight of Nazi officers as their lives are in danger. Eventually, they agree to fund Schindler's factory. After securing the money, Schindler opens his factory, and the accountant manages his operations. With the help of high-ranking officers, Schindler secures numerous army contracts, providing him with a steady flow of work from the start. Schindler decides to employ only Jewish workers in his factory since they are willing to work for less. As permanent employees of his company, they are exempt from being sent to concentration camps. Soon, a large number of Jewish people begin working in his factory. Schindler learns that many of them lack metalworking skills and tells them they can work there but must learn the craft to maintain productivity. The workers start learning, and Schindler becomes increasingly busy with his business, leaving him no time for his wife. Meanwhile, the accountant secretly helps many Jewish people by employing them in the factory, including an elderly man with a disabled hand. When Schindler finds out, he is furious and questions the accountant about hiring such a person. The following morning, as all workers head to Schindler's factory, German soldiers intercept them and order them to clear snow from the road. The workers comply, but the elderly man struggles due to his disability, prompting 2 soldiers to take him aside and kill him. The Germans here kill anyone they consider weak or unable to work, relocating many Jewish people to a different location where they are killed in concentration camps. The accountant also gets caught in this sweep because he forgot his work ID. However, Schindler arrives just in time, presenting his ID and rescuing him from the train, saving his life. Then, a German commander named Amon Goth arrives with orders to send Jewish people from the town to concentration camps. The city is divided into 2 parts, one for those who can work and another for the elderly, the weak, and those unable to work. Those with work permits are spared, while the rest are executed. A large number of innocent Jewish people are killed in this way. Watching from a hilltop, Schindler sees a little girl trying to hide and save her life. Unable to bear the sight, he leaves, and the next day, he sees her lifeless body. Those remaining Jewish people with work permits are moved to another work site in Plaszow, where Commander Goth has also set up his base, allowing him to oversee every worker from his balcony. If a worker pauses even for a second, he kills them from a distance. Human lives hold no value here. Schindler's workers are also captured and brought here, halting his production. Schindler then goes to Commander Goth and requests that he release his workers, offering him a large sum of money in return. Goth agrees, and Schindler's workers are freed to resume their work. On Schindler's birthday, 2 Jewish girls visit to wish him, while Nazi officers are also present at the celebration. Schindler thanks them and kisses one of the girls affectionately, shocking the Nazi officers as Jewish people are widely hated and discriminated against. The next day, numerous Jewish people are loaded onto a train bound for another location. Schindler, unable to bear the sight, arranges for water to be sprayed on the train as it is unbearably hot inside. Commander Goth dislikes this act, and Schindler is subsequently imprisoned for kissing a Jewish girl on his birthday. However, due to his high connections and respect among senior officers, he is released with a warning. As time progresses, Germany begins losing the war, and an order is given to relocate all Jewish people to another place. Commander Goth is instructed to carry this out, as the Soviet army is nearing, and all Jewish bodies in mass graves are ordered to be burned. Goth has nearly 10,000 Jewish bodies burned, turning Poland's skies black with smoke. Witnessing this, Schindler is heartbroken. Once only a businessman, he is now a changed man, determined to save as many Jewish lives as he can, no matter the cost. He tells his accountant, "One day, this will all be over, and we will drink together." The accountant replies, "I don't know if that day will come, but I would like to have that drink with you now." The next day, Schindler approaches Goth again, asking him to release his workers in exchange for a price. Goth questions where Schindler will take so many workers, given the impending Soviet invasion. Schindler responds that he will take them to Czechoslovakia, his hometown, where he plans to start a new factory. Although Goth warns of the expense, Schindler is undeterred. That night, with his accountant's help, Schindler drafts a list of 1,100 workers he wants to take with him, which becomes known as Schindler's List. He presents this list to Goth, offering a large sum in exchange for releasing the workers. Goth agrees, and Schindler successfully arranges for 2 trains to transport his workers to Czechoslovakia, one for men and one for women. The men's train arrives, where they see the new factory Schindler built, complete with living arrangements. However, the women's train does not arrive, as it was mistakenly rerouted to a concentration camp due to paperwork issues. At the camp, the women are forced to shave their heads and strip. Fearing they are in a gas chamber, they are relieved when water starts pouring down, indicating they were sent for a shower instead. The next day, Schindler arrives at the camp, presenting his paperwork and stating that these women are his workers, mistakenly rerouted. Initially, the senior officers refuse, but Schindler, out of options, bribes them with the last diamonds he owns, and they finally agree to release the women. Schindler then takes his female workers to Czechoslovakia. In Czechoslovakia, Schindler addresses the Nazi soldiers guarding the factory, saying, "No German soldier should enter my factory without permission. I have orders from above, and if anyone disobeys, I will report them, and they will bear the consequences." Schindler then introduces his wife to the workers, allowing them to pray according to Jewish customs, which had been forbidden. 7 months pass, with Schindler's factory incurring losses. Schindler has now spent all his savings to save Jewish lives, rendering him penniless. When the accountant realizes that Schindler has sacrificed his fortune for the Jewish workers, he is shocked and asks if there is any hidden wealth. Schindler simply says, "I know this will all be over soon." Finally, news arrives on the radio: the Soviet Union has won the war, Germany has surrendered. Schindler gathers his workers and announces that Germany has lost the war. The Nazi soldiers are ordered to kill all Jewish people, but he encourages them to go home and start anew. The German guards leave, respecting Schindler's order not to harm the Jewish workers, and Schindler and the Jewish workers observe a moment of silence. One worker, who had a gold tooth, melts it down to create a ring for Schindler, inscribed with the phrase, "Whoever saves one life saves all of humanity." With tears in his eyes, Schindler laments that he could have saved even more if he had more money. The accountant reminds him that 1,100 people are alive because of him. Deeply touched, Schindler departs with his wife, as the Soviet army considers him a war criminal due to his affiliation with the Nazi Party. The movie ends with a scene at Schindler's grave, as he passed away in 1974 at the age of 66. In Jerusalem, a tree is planted in his name, honoring his legacy. To this day, people deeply respect him. The actor Liam Neeson, who portrayed Schindler, visits his grave with several Holocaust survivors whom Schindler saved, paying respects by placing stones on his grave, a Jewish tradition honoring the deceased. Nissen places 2 roses on the grave, understanding the incredible act Schindler performed for the Jewish people, a heroic feat that few could ever achieve. This is the story of Oskar Schindler, a true story that we hope you found impactful.